Hey everybody, this is my 125 gallon tank, and today we're going to do a simple before and after water change video. The only thing I really need to do other than the water change itself is wipe the glass down, and of course I need to thin those plants out. I really do like the way it looks, nice and lush and green and dark and shadowy. It's always interesting watching the fish sort of drift in and out of vision, especially in this tank. I have several fish in here that are sort of dark coloration, namely my gourami, my snakeskin gourami here is sort of a grayish color. My Tenopoma tans and browns, and then of course my catfish down here is also sort of a tan and brown color. So with the tank as dark and shady as it is, it's easy for them to sort of drift in and out of the shadows. So not a lot to look at other than the plants. What I did was about, I don't know, maybe a month ago now, 3 weeks, something like that. I had planned on getting in there and doing something with these plants. So I took the mother plant here, the center plant, and I went through and I separated a bunch of little rootlets and little baby plants and everything off of it. But instead of tossing them like I normally do, I just left them in the tank. And the result is they've all just continued growing and doing their own thing. So we've just got mad, crazy, overgrown water Sprite in this tank now. So like I said, the main thing I'm going to do is get in there and just really thin out those plants a lot, throw away most of that stuff, check on the condition of the mother plant here, and if it still looks pretty good, I'll leave that in there as the main plant. If not, I can always take one of these other floating plants and switch positions and sort of start fresh with one of these nice new green plants. I also planted this one not long ago. I took a cutting out of my gourami tank and I put that in there, and so far so good. It still looks alright. I'm hoping I'll get it rooted in and growing well. But one of the things I need to do is get more light into this tank so any plant I want growing on the bottom will be able to do so. So take your last look at the before. And there's your after. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I agree 100% with you that it looked way better before than it does now. It looks all stark and naked and bare and open. But, you know, that happens from time to time. This is now the following morning. When I got in there last night, to be perfectly honest with you, I really did not feel like doing it. It's just something I needed to get done. I've been putting it off for days and days. And when I finally said to hell with it, I'm just going to go do this. And I did, and then when I was in there, I was just sort of pulling stuff out. I wasn't paying too much attention, and as usual, one thing led to another, and I wound up just saying to hell with it, and I pulled almost all of the water Sprite out of there because it was just old and manky, and, you know, it just needed a refreshing. So I said to hell with it, I'm starting over. So I took one of the cleanest pieces of water Sprite I could find that had the least algae and cyanobacteria growing on it, and I replaced my original mother plant with this one. It's kind of nice. It gives you a little bit of a look at the piece of woodwork I have in this tank. It's actually a forked piece of wood. I used to have this in my angelfish tank back in the day, and I had it in there so that this unfortunately unattractive flat cut end was down, and then the two forks actually stood upwards, and it looked more like a, you know, a broken tree or something rather than this, you know, log that's in my tank with this sharp cut end on it. But in no time flat, this water Sprite will grow in really thick. You won't see the end of that log, and the rest of this tank will be nice and lush and green, and everything will grow back in, and it won't be any big deal. So we'll get to see the fish a little more clearly for a little while. Their behavior is probably going to be a little more subdued for a little while. You can see my Tenopoma here has to find a new hiding place because there's no more dense overhead vegetation, and the tank is so brightly lit. He's now here hiding amongst these leaves, and he'll be just fine. Everybody's a little disturbed by all the extra bright light you can see. Unfortunately, my snakeskin gourami was doing just what it's doing now. It was hiding right under there. And when I reached in to try to wipe some of the gummy stuff off of the power head last night, I didn't realize he was down there. and I wound up startling him, and he bashed his forehead. There you can see that mark right between his eyes now. He bashed his forehead right against the power head as he was trying to dart and dash out of there, and it looks like he's got a little mark on his side too that he might have scratched against something while he was dashing around. So definitely a little bit of a traumatic water change for him, so I felt kind of bad about that. But other than that, nothing really to speak of. That's the water Sprite that I wound up pulling out of there. And this section here, that's the mother plant right there. That whole big wad. And then all the other stuff is underneath of it. So there you go. Looks a lot different, but wait and see how fast that water Sprite goes back in. Make sure you're subscribed, and as time goes on and we watch the growth and continuation of this tank, you will see how quickly that water Sprite fills it back in. So thanks again for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to this being a nice lush green tank again here in the very near future, and I will see you then.